Hiya, Craig.
Yeah,
So this is Craig. He's my youngest brother. We grew up together in County Durham. He's, I think it's safe to say, Craig, and I don't mean to embarrass you, but you've had a pretty difficult life. You know, you lost your dad when you were young. You've lost your first job. You're struggling like thousands of other young people your age to find another job. You're probably not going to be able to actually attend your first year of university in person very much, if at all. And the government has just announced a really confusing round of further local lockdown restrictions in the northeast that are going to make this all so much worse. Do you think people can understand the new lockdown restrictions, Craig?
not at all. It's been very confusing for a lot of people, especially people that I know and that are close to me, because people turn around and say, we can do this one day, and the next day we're being told we can't. At the start it was very simple. It was masks, sanitize, and track and traces just recently came in, but masks and sanitize was the main two things, and people started doing that. And Boris Johnson had came out and said the cases are falling, which meant as a country we were doing the right thing. So for now, yes, there has been a spike, but with every illness, for example, you will get a short spike, a rise in cases before it falls down again. That is just how illnesses tend to happen. That's how trends tend to work. There's
Mm-hmm.
always a curvature.
Because
So
cases and hospitalizations in the northeast are down week on
yeah,
week.
especially here in County Durham. County Durham is the lowest in the northeast, and we are being told, if it's not your household or your bubble, you can't socialise with anyone. Which,
How
but,
I
but
wonder if how do you think that makes Nana feel? Because she's 86, and when I went back home for a funeral,
mhm.
she said to me, "You are my grandson. I am not going to not give you a cuddle."
Mhm.
And she's 86, and surely we should let the older, more vulnerable people decide their own risks in life, and we can't put the economy and people's futures and livelihoods on hold for a virus that isn't going to go away anytime soon. We can't keep doing that to areas like the Northeast, which is already one of the most deprived and disadvantaged parts of our country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the case with Nana, it's obviously her bubble, so to speak, would be the family, and she only goes out once a week for the bingo. So it's, but then again, someone would turn around and say, well, these people aren't in your bubble because they're from a different household,
You know, she can't
etc.
go to the bingo now.
Exactly, and she's going to be sat in the house, and she's going to be sat there thinking, I'm not having any of this, I'm not listening, and you will get people who are defiant, and a lot of people are taking that attitude because they are turning around and saying, "We don't understand what's going on here. This doesn't make sense." A lot of it is based on what the medical advisory team think is going to happen. It's predictions. Obviously, as I've said, especially County Durham, cases are decreasing.
The measures introduced need to be proportionate to the risk phase, don't you? As I say, this isn't going away anytime soon. There's no vaccine around the corner. And people's mental health's been locked inside like this are just going to get so much worse, aren't they? Are you hearing from people that it's just making them so depressed, thinking about their futures and their lives?
Obviously, this is going to affect people. This is stopping everyday livelihoods. People aren't functioning in life the same way. They aren't seeing certain family members who aren't in their bubble. They aren't, some people can say, oh, well, girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever. If they
Mm.
haven't seen each other for a long time before this, they now no longer can, anyways.
Hmm.
So relationships will struggle, families will struggle, and obviously with mental health, especially a lot of young people will struggle with this.
Yeah. And more than 1 in 3 young people have said that they've lost hope of getting their dream job because of coronavirus. The Prince's Trust have found that a survey of 2,000 people aged between 16 to 25, so you're at the lower end of that spectrum, across the UK showed 44% had lower aspirations for the future as a result of, further lockdowns and the impact that the lockdowns are having on their futures. Are you hopeful for your future?
Very less than I was. because there are less opportunities out there. There are less doors to knock on, less doors to open. The people who are getting made redundant and having to get their jobs cut, they are people who perhaps are more qualified, and because obviously if
Then
someone's
young
in that,
people, you mean?
yeah, so if someone's in that job already, it's harder for a young person to get there, but now they aren't in the job and they're going to be looking for something else, which young people will also be aiming for. It's another obstacle, it's another block in the way of young people's opportunities and growth, really.
Because, I think about kids like you, free school meals, state school, grandfather was a miner, uh, single, now sadly, single parent family. And, if there's any form of privilege, you certainly haven't had it.
Hmm.
And you need work on your CV to make you employable. If we keep locking down the economy, there's going to be fewer and fewer avenues to actually access employment. And it could be years now until you're employed. That's just not sustainable, is it?
No, I mean, obviously, in a couple of years' time, if more shops do find the capacity to reopen, let's say, my CV will, at the moment, in the next couple of years, be the exact same as it is now.
Yeah.
And the experience I have from work, yes, I do have experience working, but it is very limited. And companies in a few years' time will turn around and say, from this point to this point, you haven't
Yeah.
had that work experience. And obviously, people like me can't because of the lockdowns. So it's not a nice situation.
Do you feel
All
like young people your age just starting out in life because of these lockdowns are the lost generation?
I think in ways, yes, absolutely, because you hear a lot about how the government works for the future of this country, and there is a focus placed on young people, whereas mental health issues have risen in young people. There aren't a lot of young people getting looked at. There aren't a lot of young people on the mainstream media, and things like that. So it's a huge issue still, and there's not a lot being done about it. And a lockdown like this, people can't go to get educated. People can't go to learn, to work, to earn money, to make a living, to see several members of their family. It's really gonna harden people's lives and put a mental strain on people, really.
Finally, Craig, and as I said at the start, you voted Conservative. What, and that was your first vote, what would your message be to Boris Johnson as a young supporter of the Conservative Party?
I think it would just be to look at what people are actually doing, because people are following the rules. People, especially here in the North East and in County Durham, people on the large part are wearing their masks in every building they go into, sanitising their hands everywhere they go. The track and trace that has came out, I have the app. A lot of people I have seen have the app. They come into the building, they scan straight away, check in, and they follow the procedures that have been put in place. Now, the government needs to make sure it's proportionate, the lockdown measures, to the risk that we face. And at the moment, it's not. At the moment, it's so disproportionate that it hinders young people. Unemployment has risen, mental health issues have risen. I've seen cancer has gone undiagnosed, which is a huge issue. It's turning into absolute chaos with this, because they need to sort it out. They need to say, we'll put these measures in place and monitor it constantly, make sure people are following the rules, which in this instance, around here, people are following the rules. So, it's a disgrace, really, at the minute. It really is, because people are following the rules and yet are being imposed with harsher lockdown measures when cases are already going down and we are doing our part. And obviously it's ruining, the future for people like me. Government talks about levelling up. When Boris Johnson, one of the things that made me vote for him was when he talked about Brexit and he said he's going to level up this country, which for someone in the northeast, I felt, leveling up. This sounds good. This means investment. This means something to prosper for. This means something really good. But actually, it hasn't been that way, because the northeast for many years has been one of the most deprived parts of this country, and yet we still haven't got much favour with investment. And now these lockdown measures, the lack of investment even more, the lack of people being able to go out and buy into small businesses around here, which will very much struggle with this. So for me, it really is going to affect the northeast even more we aren't if we are one of the most deprived places, and we need to level up, but yet we are being blocked from leveling up. We are either going to stay as we are for the foreseeable future for the next few years, or unfortunately face a massive decline, which is just obviously unacceptable.
Yeah, totally. Well, hopefully they're going to rethink all of this, because I really don't think we can go on like that. I mean, I've
Absolutely.
got Nana's absolutely seething, you're seething, so the Conservatives have clearly managed to unite the generational divide, haven't they?
Mm,
Anyway, thank you for speaking to us. Love you lots.
it's a pleasure. You too.
Right, okay.